a walking testament to the power of a mother's love and of adoption's life-saving, life-changing impact. That's how the man you're about to meet has been described. His life is also a testament to the power of prayer.
Ryan Bomberger was conceived in rape, but his teenage birth mother courageously chose life for her unborn baby and the gift of adoption. Today, he's an Emmy Award-winning creative professional who is sharing his story to fight for the pro-life movement through his organization, the Radiance Foundation. Ryan's passionate voice for the unborn and his influence on American culture has earned him a place in the powerful new Legacy of Life book, which honors 50 of the greatest pro-life leaders of the last 5 decades.
Please welcome back to the 700 Club, Ryan Bomberger. Always wonderful to see you.
Oh, and great to be here with you.
Ryan, you have such an amazing story. In fact, because of the amazing story God's given you, you are in this Legacy of Life book, which is absolutely beautiful. But for people who don't know your story, will you share a little of it?
Sure. I was conceived in rape, but adopted in love. I'm that exceptions case that so many people talk about. In fact, anytime you have a conversation about abortion, it inevitably gets to that. And so I'm that tangible example of how God enables triumph to rise from tragedy. And so although I was conceived in that kind of violence, I was adopted and loved into a family of 15. Where I have, you know, about large families. I have 12 siblings, and 10 of us were adopted. Wow. And we're all, you know, all different hues and all kinds of different backgrounds. Loved like crazy by my parents, Henry and Andrea Bomberger, who loved Jesus. And when you love Jesus, you love those that he created. And
can I also say, loved and treasured by a birth mother. Yes. Who had the courage to say, I'm going to walk this out so my baby can have life. I mean, when did you finally realize that you had a story that could make a difference? Because a lot of people would have walked through your circumstance and had abandonment issues, low self-esteem issues. I mean, how did you battle through all of that?
Well, I had 2 parents that loved me like crazy. So when I found out at 13, it was in I'll call it a tense conversation with my parents. Yeah. That's when I discovered that the narrative that I had for my origin story wasn't what I thought it was. And it was devastating initially, but then I realized at the age of 13, going to public school, I gave a persuasion speech in 8th grade after I found out the story. And so I realized, watching the reaction of my teacher and my fellow students, I had a story to tell, and I needed to tell it.
Yeah, it's almost like God has given you a responsibility in your story to share the goodness and the rightness of it. Talk a little bit, if you will, about the Radiance Foundation, because that's what you lead today, what you founded. What is it, and what are you doing?
The Radiance Foundation is an organization my amazing wife, Bethany, and I co-founded back in 2009, and we really wanted to illuminate that every human life, whether you're planned, unplanned, able, disabled, and whatever beautiful hue you are, every human life has God-given purpose. And so we use creative means, billboards, we have children's books, and we do all kinds of keynote events in friendly and not so friendly environments. And we really just talk about the culture-shaping issues. Life, because like my shirt says, life is the first right. Without life, nothing else matters. Talk about racism, poverty, fatherlessness, sexuality, free speech, and basically the war on common sense.
Yeah. You know, we live in a world today where there's been a lot of change and acceptance, and there's also a lot of division, a lot of racism that people are talking about every day in the news. It's a subject. Where do you think we're at today, Ryan?
We're not at a good place. But the great thing about being a Christian is that we have opportunities every hour, every day, to speak truth into this culture. And we're one human race, Acts 17:26. Among all the culture-shaping issues, it's amazing how we keep returning to the same things, and too many people embrace the same lies. But we have the truth, and this is part of what we try to illuminate through the Radiance Foundation, that we are created by God with purpose. Psalm 139, there's no asterisk there that says, oh, if you have a particular color or if you have a particular ability. Every human life has God-given purpose.
But we have a ways to go to appreciate each other, don't we?
We do. We do.
And yet, as I look through Legacy of Life, this beautiful book, I'm just going to hold it up because it's so well done. I now have this on my coffee table at home. But it is a history of 50 of the people who have really influenced the movement for life. You are one of them. Who are some of the others in here that really spoke to your heart?
There are so many. Nellie Gray, the founder of the March for Life, she was actually the first one to invite me to speak when we first started the Radiance Foundation. There are so many. There's Brian Kemper, Abby Johnson, Alan Sears of Alliance Defending Freedom. There are so many architects, so many innovators in this. In fact, I'm loving it because I learned so much about it,
Yes.
about the history of the movement and people. Joe Schuyler, another one of my favorite individuals. But it's a great compendium, basically just a great way to learn the history and the present of the fight for life, as we know, since Dobbs is ongoing in state after state.
Yeah. You know, it was interesting to me to read it. There were some in here I didn't know as I looked over the course of history, and encouraged to see that so many who are fighting the good fight today are young.
Right.
You know, new, fresh, young leaders stepping into that role. Talk a little bit about the power of prayer and the difference that it makes for this cause as a whole umbrella, but for the Radiance Foundation, for racism today, for equality.
It's everything. I mean, prayer should be our first resort. It's everything we do in the middle, and it's the last resort. We wouldn't even exist as the Radiance Foundation without prayer. I mean, part of our organization came into existence because it's actually named after our first daughter, who we fought for 4 years for custody. She's not my biological daughter, but I adopted her when she was 6. Prayer was everything to make that seemingly impossible possible.
You saw it.
Yeah.
Talk about your family, because, you know, lots of times there can be call on your life or even Bethany's life as parents, as grown-ups, but then children kind of get swallowed into that as well. Have your kids struggled at all with the whole recognition and being in a position? Your whole family really is in a position of leadership in this.
Right. And I love that our family is part of our ministry, and that's what the Radiance Foundation is. And so, in fact, my youngest son is with me today, but we travel to so many different places, colleges, conferences, churches, and they have been such an integral part of what we do through the Radiance Foundation, understanding how we can love people. We can disagree with them, and they understand when we say we're called to love every human being, not every human doing. And they see that played out in the work that Bethany and I do through the Radiance Foundation. Where do we as believers go from here? You know, how do we forge unity in the midst of it all? Humility. Understanding that we may not have all the right answers at that time, but we know where to get the right answers, and that's the Word of God. I mean, we live in a world today where we should understand as Christians that God gives us identity and the world gives us identity crisis. And so we know where to go for those answers, and we have to live it out. Yeah. Really seeing each other as we were meant to be seen. Legacy of Life, honoring 50 of the greatest pro-life leaders of the last 50 years. It is an incredibly beautiful book, and it's available. So it's written by John Stemberger. It's available nationwide. It's really worth your read. It's worth your owning. It's worth your displaying. Thank you, Ryan. So great to have you with us. Thanks, Terry. Bless you.